2007 was an epic year. I graduated high school. Yes, I'm starting to get old, but it was also the last year that the MR2 was sold across the world. Now we're getting reports, finally, right? This has been bubbling for years. I've been making videos on Toyota's MR2 for years, and the Scoop magazines get like 1 or 2 breadcrumbs a year. Now we got I would say probably 2 breadcrumbs here that we're going to discuss and dissect and break down. But we also have LFA II news as well that we're going to talk about after we cover all of the MR2 rumblings from Japan. Grab your snacks and drinks, buckle in, and start your engines. All right, let's get into the renders first and foremost. Now, I'm not going to read the entire translated scripts here because it is, well, it's quite lengthy. And gosh, I mean, Japanese magazines do a really good job putting a lot of words in with just not that much information. I'll just say that. Here's one of the 2 designs. Now, this vehicle, first and foremost, before we get into the 2 designs, this vehicle seemingly will come out in 2026. I would put a whole lot of salt grains on that, maybe a truckload full of salt, to be honest, but 2026 is what they are saying. Now let's get into the 2 different designs that they could go. Now MR2, you guys like to debate me on this, well some of you do, but it stands for midship runabout 2-seater, and that means a midship is a mid-engine vehicle. So regardless of which design they go for, it will have an engine that sits in front of the rear wheels and behind the cockpit. Okay, that's 100% guaranteed on this MR2. They're not going to make it battery electric, which we'll talk about electrification and the lack thereof here in a little bit. Even though we got that amazing concept when I was in Japan at the Japan Mobility Show, me and David went ahead and I did a walk around of what it was at the FTSE concept, which was just stunning. Now, we'll get into dimensions and powertrains, all that good stuff here in a little bit, but let's go over the 2 designs. They are still, well, Toyota, the engineers are still trying to figure out if they want to do a double deck design or a single deck. And let me explain the differences there, because that is probably foreign to most of us since we're not that familiar with mid-engine cars. Okay, they're very, very rare in on the streets anyways, right? So this is their design for a double deck car, and a double deck kind of has a more flat rear end behind the coupe. All right, we can kind of see that here. It kind of is extended out. I think it looks amazing. This is the render I think is more attractive, but a double deck means it has 2 separate openings or hoods, you could say, in the rear. One for the engine bay, which is going to be here, right? And one for the trunk, which is right behind it. In the past, we've seen vehicles have a double deck engine bay, and I think currently there might be some Ferraris out there, maybe some Lotus that have a double deck engine bay. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up those images real quick. If we look here, we're looking at the first gen NSX. This was a double deck engine bay or double deck setup as well. One of the most gorgeous cars ever built, in my opinion, the NSX. I still love seeing them here in South Florida from time to time. And here's the trunk area of that NSX, which looks actually quite big, even though there's an engine sitting right in front of it. All right, there's a bigger image of that NSX with the double deck. We look at the first and second gen MR2s. This is a second gen MR2. This has a double deck setup as well, and this would be the true heritage. Hopefully, Toyota decides to go for the double deck design. That's what my heart wants. That's what my passion wants as an enthusiast, to give us this double deck design. My experience, though, as a Toyota and Lexus fan, knows not to get my hopes up. And so I am expecting a single engine bay and a single lid instead of a double deck lid, more of like a traditional coupe is what they're calling. So that's the other engine design that they're talking about. So you can see the very clear partition here between the 2 trunk lids, one for the trunk, one for the engine bay. But I wanted to get back to the images here. I love this design. It reminds me an MC20 from the side. I love the rear proportions. I think this is the coolest looking design they have. Let's go ahead and pull up the other design here, because this is the one they're saying is the more I'm saying is more likely. They're saying this is just option number 2. And it'll have a more traditional coupe look, and it'll have a single rear lift hatch or a hatchback potentially, like the second gen NSX, where it has the trunk and the engine covered by one large lift back sort of hatch or trunk lid, however you want to look at it. So I think this is the design they're going to go with. When I say that, I don't mean headlights, taillights. None of that has been finalized. All that they're talking about here is double deck versus single deck. How many pieces of metal are over the rear, right? One single piece or two separate pieces separating the trunk and the engine bay. Time will tell. Well, here's the second gen NSX here to give you an idea. Engine right here, trunk right here. And if the NSX went that cheaper route, you better believe this much more affordable mid-engine Japanese car is probably going to go this route instead of the iconic and more beautiful double deck. It is what it is, but that's the reality we live in. Beggars can't be choosers. So let's talk about dimensions here, because I think that's pretty important. They're saying it looks big on the outside, but it's actually a pretty small sports car. They're saying total length is 4,400 millimeters, total width is 1,850 millimeters, and height is really low at 1,230 millimeters. Now, if I look up the Lotus Emira, which is a small mid-engine vehicle, right? The length is almost identical to what the Toyota new MR2 is supposed to be. The width is just about 40 millimeters more or so, and the height is about 5 millimeters shorter on the Emira. So dimensions wise, at least from the naked eye, it's going to look identical in length, width, height compared to the Lotus Emira. Now, unlike previous Lotuses, it's not going to have a supercharged Toyota 2GR V6 engine. It's going to have your option of a 6-speed manual or 8-speed new automatic transmission, the new automatic that's seen in the GR Yaris. It will be the 1.6 liter inline 3 turbo engine. Makes sense to me. They're saying power could be increased up to about 320 PS, which is probably somewhere around 315 horsepower. I don't think we have a spec with this engine between the GRMN Yaris or even the GR Corolla that's quite as high as that. So they could eke a little bit more boost into this setup to get more power out of it. Absolutely. It looks amazing with this render as well. I mean, this setup reminds me a little bit of that FTSE with these side LEDs too. But again, I don't want to get my hopes up for any of these designs, even though I like this one quite a bit, the double deck setup. Now, I think if you guys like traditional sports cars, you're going to be very excited for this. And the reason is that it's going to be completely non-electrified, and no mild hybrid, no performance hybrid, none of that, no battery other than the 12 volts in here. It's going to be Toyota's last, this is what the magazine is saying, it's going to be Toyota's last fully gasoline powered sports car. Now, they're saying that they're tuning the heck out of the 1.6 liter, was it G16E engine. They're tuning the heck out of it to make sure that it can run on synthetic fuels or alternate fuels as well. And that's maybe its saving grace, right, in the era of electrification, if it can run on alternate fuels, more eco-friendly fuels. So I cannot wait for the GR MR2. That kind of rolls off the tongue quite well. Now, they're saying there could be GRMN variants, and possibly only, if you see this badge, possibly only GRMN. And they said potentially really small batches of 50 to 100 units at a time. Now, how I see this is that there will be GRMN variants, but it's not going to be the only variant. There will be a base model too. That's what my gut's telling me. I have nothing to base it on, but that would make sense to me. Look at the GR Yaris. They had a limited run of GRMN models, and then, you know, they have the GR model for the masses, well, you know, for the more average GR sports car buyer. And so what about pricing? Well, guys, I'd save this for last because I don't want to burst your bubble. They're saying that it is going to be 10 million yen, which would equate to 68,000 US dollars. I bet it's going to be somewhere around there when it comes out in 2026. At least that's what, take everything with a grain of salt, but $68,000. What other vehicle can you get mid-engine for that money? I don't know. Like, I have no idea. There's so few of them nowadays. I guess, what is the starting MSRP of the Porsche Cayman S, right? $80,000. So the base model is 80 grand, if I'm reading this right. Oh, no. Here's one that starts at 69 grand. Okay, so that's the Cayman S that starts at 80 grand. So about $70,000 for the base price, and maybe the GRMN comes in at $80,000. That would make sense for me. How many people, though, are going to pick this mid-engine Toyota if it's around the same entry price as a Porsche? It's good to have options. I think there's a ton of Toyota fans out there that would, and MR2 fans from decades past, right, that would be happy to jump into a new MR2 for around $70,000. The thing is, the MR2, let's look at what MR2 used to cost, $23,000 in 2000. Let's put that in the inflation calculator, and it would only be about $35,000. So the price of the MR2 has doubled, but you can't compare that old MR2, the last generation of the MR2. It didn't even have a turbo on it. It was extremely underpowered, and the performance was not a focus. It was just kind of like have a cute little mid-engine car that's fun to throw in the turns. It's kind of like a mid-engine Miata. That old MRS, I guess people call that, right? The MRS. And some people don't claim that to be a real MR2 anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's going to have so much better performance than any MR2 before it. Over 300 horsepower, potentially 315 horsepower. And if it looks close to this, I think most people would be happy. And it's going to be, okay, what does the Lotus Emira start at? I didn't even look at that. That starts at 93, so about $100,000. So you'll have that Toyota crafted, handcrafted essentially vehicle coming out of Japan that's going to undercut this by $25,000. And maybe it is very similarly in the same league in terms of performance as well. That would be interesting to see how well it would do around a track compared to this Emira, the new MR2, as well as how it would compare to a base Cayman from Porsche, which are all kind of in the same league in theory. We'll see though, right? But man, am I excited for the MR2. And I'm also excited for the new LFA. The new LFA, well, they call it the LFA II. More than likely, it'll be called the LFR. But the rumors are back again swirling. That'll be a plug-in hybrid twin-turbo V8 with over 700 horsepower coming next year, released in 2025. Aluminum chassis, has a carbon body. There's going to be a lot of similarities with the old LFA here. It's the first super high-performance flagship performance vehicle from Lexus since the LFA was discontinued in, 2012 or so. And 13 years later, we're going to get its spiritual successor in terms of performance, but not in terms of soul, right? You're going to have this Frankenstein twin turbo V8 with a big battery and who knows, maybe they put a solid state battery in there, I don't know, and a big electric motor to help out with. But they'll have to have GT3 variants of this, so they'll probably have variants at 500 horsepower as well without electrification in theory. So I'm really excited to see this vehicle. We got trademarks recently from Toyota. It's this right here. It says Toyota trademarks new GR-GT. So knowing Toyota and Lexus, there's a really good chance that you have a flagship Toyota variant for certain markets and then a flagship Lexus variant for certain markets as well. Think of like the NSX, for example. The NSX in Japan is a Honda, and the NSX in America is Acura. And I think Lexus could go down that route. In certain markets, this be offered as a Toyota GR-GT, and then in certain markets, there would be a Lexus variant with just small differences called the LFR. Time will tell, though. They are also saying that the transmission here is going to be an 8-speed transaxle, just like the old LFA. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a dual clutch instead of a single clutch this time. But apparently in the past they were saying 10-speed, and now it's more than likely an 8-speed automatic. Now, what they're saying here on Car Sensor is quite a bit different than what Best Car was saying. They're saying that it would be first available as a race car to grab people's attention, and then they will sell it. I don't know how GT3 regulations work. I don't know if there's a grace period by a certain point in time that they need to have a like essentially a race replica version to be sold, or a homologation model to be sold to through the dealers and whatnot to the masses. So it would be interesting to see if Toyota somehow uses this as a race car for a year or two before they even offer it as a production retail model. I don't think it's going to be that far off, because we did get trademarks of the design not that long ago. I think 2025 is a good estimation of when this vehicle will be out in some shape or form as a Toyota or a Lexus or as a race car. Now, I do have information on next gen IS, gasoline potentially, as well as battery electric. I want to talk about that, but that'll be in a different video, so stay tuned for that. That'll be up either later this week or next week, or just when I get around to it, because I've been pretty busy. A lot of news coming out. I just got my video out on the GX earlier today, so make sure to watch that. And I'm going to be doing a live stream on it as well tonight, answering your questions on the GX and my impressions on it. So thank you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Long live the MR2. Welcome back, LFA, sort of, with the LFR. And I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one and peace out.